What's up, everyone? Welcome to a special live, or not live, I should say, edition of Spin from the Reel. Sorry, it's weird. Yeah, you get a double dose this week. You get on live today, and then you get us live tomorrow. And Chris, who all do we have coming on tomorrow? Now that I'm
Tomorrow, tomorrow we're gonna have another jam-packed show, right? So off the bat, we have Sunny and Kat coming on. That's gonna be a fun time. We got Marie E. Wilson coming on the show. Another Dragon Con
the last
myth.
Dragon Con player, Dragon Con player,
the myth that are the Dragon Con players. We're wrapping up with them tomorrow with Marie, and then we're also having Jacob London on the show. And I'm excited to talk to all of them, all four of them. It's gonna be a fun time. But like you said, we're not done with our interviews, and I guarantee the one we're doing today will be the last one we do.
Yeah, we probably got a few more like this throughout the next week, especially once we see what happens on Friday. Friday is going to be that day where I'm like, hey, we haven't talked to you. Come on. But also Friday, we will be on the Let's Get Ready network as a part of their mock draft. So who knows? Maybe one of us picks up the person we've interviewed today, or someone we're interviewing tomorrow, or someone we've interviewed in the past. Who knows? We're putting positions of managers. I got something fun planned for mine because I got one of my. I'll say this: I got one of my teams. This is great.
Yeah, I don't think we can say who we got.
I'm not.
So I'll keep my thoughts. What I will say is that I'm actually really looking forward to Friday for multiple reasons. Besides who we're drafting, so it's gonna be a good time.
It's gonna be a good time. But without further ado, let's bring on our guest, and that is the one and the only David Campbell, who's been making a name for himself lately, as he's been making the rounds around all these after shows.
Yeah, it's been a fun time, an exhausting time. You know, I've walked from after show to after show. You know, I've barely ate, I've barely slept. You know, but it's been worth it. You know, an underdog coming into this draft, that has to be said. So I've just been trying my best to get my name out there and hopefully, you know, send some messages to the managers that I'm worth taking a shot on in the draft.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about this a little bit before pre-show. You didn't have the hype of, say, some of those rookies who were a part of that first announcement, to where they got the nice big posters and their names out there like that in the grand entrance. You were just in the draft list with another great competitor we've had the chance of talking to, Jesse Swift, who I know you've cultivated a very nice professional relationship with.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Yeah.
But you guys were kind of behind the eight ball compared to someone like Brother Lomas or Rager or Amon Frost. So how did that make you feel going into this entire process?
It wasn't something that surprised me, because to be honest with you, you know, I put in my audition tape, and I know how many people auditioned. So even to get in the draft, you know, from that was, you know, I looked at it and I was like, wow, you know, I was pleased and I was pleasantly surprised by it. But you know, after that point, I started to see all these rookies with the hype behind them in the Facebook group, like you say, Brother Lomas, you know, and Rick Radis and the likes of them. And then it came down to, it was when Frank Janish put out his 15 rookies to watch list, and I wasn't on it. And I was like looking at that list, and I was like, you know, that's completely fair, because not only do people not know who I am, like, I've also given them no reason to put me on that list in the first place. So when that list came out, my name wasn't on it. I said, I need to try and change something if I'm going to give myself any real hope of getting drafted come a week on Friday. So that's what I've been trying to do, and hopefully it's managed to, you know, work in some sense.
Well, David, no.
Go ahead, Chris.
I mean, David, you said that, like, you weren't expecting to see your name on the list like that, like Janish's list, because no one knows who you are.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, like, for me, a great way to start, because Matt's been, like, you've been talking to Matt to come on the show, and I'm over here like, David Campbell. I've heard that name a lot, especially your interactions with Rick Radis or Jesse Swift on social media.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, like, who is David Campbell? Like, because I know, like, that's why we're doing these interviews, not only so we can get to know who you are, but just in case the manager's like, I've heard about this David Campbell person.
Yeah.
Who is David Campbell exactly?
David Campbell from Glasgow, Scotland, as you can probably tell from the accent. 24 years of age, recently graduated in English and film and television from the University of Glasgow, and trying to make a career in film and television. Obviously, this pandemic has made things extremely difficult for us all, but currently in post-production of my first feature film right now. It's been a labour of love for many, many years, but hopefully, fingers crossed, should be done soon. And I've also, continued to write scripts during the lockdown, during this pandemic, and trying to get them into some easy for me to say, some form of development as well. So that's basically me to a T. Apart from that, I love soccer. I love playing soccer over here. I enjoy a good drink as well, a good beverage, as most of my countrymen do. So that's the bullet points on David Campbell right there. My favourite movie of all time is Kill Bill, because it's the movie that made me want to get into make movies and write movies.
See, I'm more shocked that I heard someone from the UK soccer as soccer and not football.
You need to know your audience. I need to know your audience here.
Smart man. See, no, David, and I mean, I've seen what you've been doing on social media, and you're coming in hot, David. Like you are coming out like a ball of fire, and I can't help but respect it. And as someone who not only just for me, I am more so towards the personality aspect of the Schmoedown,
right.
And I love seeing that stuff. So for you, how does that come from your film background? Like where did you get the idea to really just be this version of yourself? If not, if this is just who you are in general, then by all means. But where'd this come from? I'm curious.
I'm a massive wrestling fan, so that element of the Schmoedown also appealed to me as well. That's how I stuck with the Schmoedown. I've said this in every after show. I came into the Schmoedown with Dan Murrell when he was playing Campia, but I stayed for the personalities. That's why I came in here. Mm-hmm. And I've watched wrestling since 2006. Back when Rey Mysterio was just winning the title at WrestleMania, John Cena's first reign, Edge was being a horrible, horrible man. Glad to see him back now. But they always say in wrestling, the best characters are yourself dialed up to the 10th degree, just dialed up as much as possible. And I think that's what I try and do. Look, I come on these shows and there's moments, I try and be as earnest as possible because I want the managers to know that I can work with them and stuff like that. But you need to try and, get some heat in there as well. I don't want to come in here and people not to think I have some sort of edge. I do. Absolutely, I do. And I think, that's part of the beauty of the Schmoedown is that you can come in and you can be in this larger than life setting, but that only gets you maybe in the door, and it's maybe getting me, a chance to get in the door. Once you're in there, you have to prove yourself, and that's something I'm excited about. That's the next challenge, should I be drafted, is to actually get in a match and prove that I can hang with whoever is put in front of me.
That's the magic word, right? Like I heard the magic word, wrestling. It's like, okay, now I get it. And I'm not even saying that because I'm a wrestling fan as well. I do a wrestling show on this channel, right. But that's also a big driving point. You can do the coolest moves, or in this case, you can know all the trivia, but no one's gonna care unless you have a character. And Christian's made that known. And Christian's he was asking for characters when he put out the audition tape or the idea for auditions, and it's like, oh yeah, everyone's sending their things, but if you have a character, flex that. And you knowing the wrestling background, knowing the personality aspect plays a huge role in that.
And I think you look at WWE today, right? One of the most entertaining characters on SmackDown right now is Billy Kay, formerly of the Iconics. Billy Kay barely wrestles every week, but you're coming out of that show and you're talking about Billy Kay. How funny was Billy Kay? How over the top was Billy Kay? Or did you see what Billy Kay did in the show this week? And I think that's an important aspect of the Schmoedown as well. Like the Schmoedown at its core isn't only the matches, it's the interviews, it's the commentary, it's the cutscenes, it's the storylines. All of that plays into it. And I want to show not only the managers, but also Christian himself that I can contribute not just in the in-game elements, but also in all those other things that make the Schmoedown what it is.
No, and I think that's actually really important because Chris, I had a chance to talk with Christian leading up for a competitor we had on here, and he's like, it doesn't matter if this character is great. This character they need to be able to win at least one of their first 2 matches, or no one's going to care about them. They go 0-2, doesn't matter if they're a great character. No one's going to care.
Yeah.
So if they're doing this, you need to make sure that they're going to be able to hold up both sides of their bargain, what they're agreeing to. And it's like, I mean, you can't really argue against it. He's like, look at someone like Guy. Guy is, let's just be honest, Guy's not the best at trivia when he's in singles. When he's in teams, his numbers are a little bit more inflated because he's had these great partners, but he also helps his part. But he's not the best. There's a reason you never see him competing for a singles title or anything.
Yeah.
But people love him for what he brings, that energy, that charisma. And I see a lot of that in you.
Yeah, and I think, you say that about Andrew Guy, but you think about some of the big victories he's had over the years in the Schmoedown. He's beaten Dan Murrow, and he's beaten Mark Riley, and Team Action got to a team's tournament final. You know what I mean? Like, it's hardly as if Andrew Guy didn't have to prove himself in the trivia aspect as well. And, to even be mentioned in the same sentence as Andrew Guy, I take that as a massive compliment, because he will go down as one of the most entertaining Schmoedown characters in the history of the league. But you are right in what you say. I can come in here, I can be as boisterous as I want. I can smile as much as I like. I can cut these impassioned promos about why I should be in the league. But if I'm coming in there and I am utterly terrible at trivia, then it's game over from day one. So the Schmoedown is constantly about proving yourself time and time again. Not only do I need to prove myself in my audition to get in the draft, prove myself now to try and get drafted, you then need to prove yourself every match you play in the league. And that's a challenge, I'm not taking lightly. And it's a challenge that I relish the opportunity, to compete in the league.
Yeah. And no shots at our buddies over at the Ultimate Schmoedown show, but they gave you some bung questions the other day.
So they were like, oh, it's 1 or 2 pointers. And I was like, cool. I've been watching like every match I can, getting 7 out of 8 every time. And then all of a sudden, what tribe is Jacob Black from in Twilight? And I was
what the hell?
Right.
That's a 1 point question.
We did a Twilight watch along, and I'm the champion of a fan league, and I went against Colin, actually, from the Ultimate Schmoedown show.
Nice.
And because we're both a part of the league. And we're the 2 who knows Twilight best. And we got similar questions. I barely scraped out. Chris loved having fun with those questions, but I'm pretty sure that was one of those questions.
No, that's a toughie. And I know, first of all, we're not going to put you on the spot. I promise you, we're not going to ask you any questions. We're not going to be like, "Oh, David, here's 5." Like, no, we're not going to.
Because that's the thing. Like, everyone's talking about, and I've said this. Everyone doesn't know what my strengths or what my weaknesses are in this league, and I kind of like that. I really, really like that I'm an unknown quantity. So that's why when they were like 1 or 2 pointers, I was like, fine. I'll beat sweeps anyway at the singles questions, and I can hold my own in the IG ones. And it turned out that the IG questions were like so simple.
Those were
really easy questions.
Those were 1 pointers.
What room did the Dumbledore's army train in? Come on. Tell me.
What state was Star-Lord? Really?
See, and
exactly.
But at the same time, like, that's how the Schmoedown can be sometimes.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're a fan. You say you've been watching since Merle Camp, which, by the way, I feel like that's a trend. That match is groundbreaking, and and people sleep on it. I sleep on it myself. Like, it's for especially how early it was in the Schmoedown's career. But obviously you've been a fan. What stuck out to you? And like, you're from overseas. Like, obviously the Schmoedown's grown here in the States, or like a lot of the talent comes from the States, but you're out there in Scotland. So how did you find this? If I can ask.
Watching movie fights. I was a fan of Screen Junkies movie fights. I was a fan of Dan over there. So when I heard that Dan was coming over and I knew Christian, obviously from movie fights, he made up a film once on that show. It was
Night Falls, right?
Night Falls Part 2, I think it was. He made up.
Everybody bought it. Us included. We're probably like, oh yeah, that movie's great,
I was a fan of Christian from that moment. That had me howling. I had to pause the video because I was laughing that much. So I followed Dan over from that. And like I said, I came over for that Dan Campia match, but then I stayed to watch, Roca Mans and the Bespin moment. I've been hooked ever since then. Clark Wolf. I was a massive Clark Wolf fan in the beginning. I was gutted with her first singles title match against Dan. The one where, you know, I don't think maybe quite ready for it. Nerves got in place. So when it got years later and she finally got the singles title match again and was this close to winning it, I was just happy that she got to prove that she was, you know, singles title worthy, you know, and take off the whatever happened in that first match. So yeah, like I could talk to you about my favorite Schmoedown characters and matches all afternoon. I don't want to take up too much time. But the last one I'm going to mention, I think what captures the trivia wrestling aspect of the Schmoedown more than a match inside Booker T's arena, inside a wrestling ring between Guy and Bateman, you know, where it ends with someone getting hit with a steel chair. That's magnificent. You know, that's utterly magnificent.
Yeah, that was the month after we met in Chicago, wasn't it, Chris?
I don't know if it was the month. It was the same year.
I think it was the month after because we were messaging each other. Yo, should we meet up again in Houston?
Well, yeah, like the Booker T Arena Guy Bateman moment, and Guy and Bateman, they've done so much for the league. And I know, like Matt mentioned Andrew not too long ago, not only being the character that he is, but like and just another testament to the character aspect. Guy was out here tackling guys that goes no tomorrow. Like whether it's Roca or Bateman through a table, mind you, through a little coffee table.
Through Bibbs' table wasn't supposed to break.
Yeah, and it shattered. It was awesome. But that's just another testament to how like the lines between wrestling and the Schmoedown. Like Christian makes it obvious, and not to just. I don't want to just go back to the wrestling thing as much as I would love to talk about wrestling with you, David. But we'll talk about that later. Yeah. But I think the character aspect is so. It's so important. So when you started doing the social media stuff, whether it was with the tweets or if it was your little squabble with Radis, because we did take note. We did take note of that.
You've been pretty active on Facebook,
or the stuff you've done on Facebook too. Like, what's I don't want to ask what's your goal with that, but like, what drives you to push all these buttons? You know, because like you said, you weren't mentioned in those rookie lists.
Exactly.
You, like that wasn't something that you. Like you need to prove yourself, and is that how you want to go about it? Is calling out these people that were making their presence on social media and saying, "Yo, I'm better than you."
I just had to get myself noticed, Chris. It's nothing personal.
And it worked.
Anyone really, you know, I just had to create a buzz, and I had to let people know that I was serious. So I think it was on Schmoes of the North that I first called out Radis, and you know, for me it was a flyaway comment. I was just being cheeky. I was just taking a little jab there. You know, that wasn't a haymaker by any means. And all of a sudden, everyone starts going crazy. Oh, he's calling out his fellow rookies. What's going on here? And notice since I've done that. Yeah, Christian called it out. Notice since that, other rookies have started calling out each other as well. You know,
trendsetter David Campbell out here.
Yeah, try to take this David Campbell strategy. You know, of getting yourself noticed in the draft. I see you all out there. I see you. But you know, it's all in good fun, and I think it helps all of us to do that, because if we're setting up beef and we're setting up matches, and if we do happen to get drafted in different factions, then, you know, there's a story there already. You know, there's the match there already ready to go, and that can only be a good thing. But I also have the immense amount of respect for my fellow rookies. I see what they're doing. I see the journeys there go down the after shows, and you know, as a rookie class, you know, we need to appreciate, you know, that many fans of the Schmoedown want to be in the position we're in now and have this opportunity, you know, so we need to do what we need to do to make sure we're making the most of that opportunity and not squandering that, because that'd be a slap in the face to everyone else who auditioned, every fan who's watching at home saying, I want to do that one day. We have a chance here to make sure that we could be one of the lucky ones to compete in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown League. So you bet your ass that we're going to do our best to make sure that happens, you know?
I mean, you guys are the trendsetters.
Realistically,
because if you guys do well, Christian may have this become a yearly thing to give these people a chance to come in and audition postseason. Because why not? If you guys perform well, you, Radis, Brother Lomas, Peggy Gubbins, anyone who has the potential of coming in, if you put it out there to where, you know what, maybe there are more people out there who can hang just like these guys did. You for the Trailblazers.
And I think that's a lot of pressure, but it's also something that I take immense pride in, you know, because I'll be honest, like in terms of the community in the Facebook group, quite quiet. Normally, I'm quite reserved. I'm a quite quiet guy, as you can probably tell. But I've just been watching and listening to the comments and haven't really been, engaged, in terms of typing and voicing my opinion on those groups. But I've been a fan for years. I've seen the people who are fans for years. I've seen how important this game is to people, and what it means to people and what it's meant to me. Like look at it this way: if you've had a bad day at work, you just want to come home, you're fed up with everything, and there's a Schmoedown match for you there to watch. That's something that can cheer you up. That's something that can make your day, help turn what was a bad day into a good day. And I appreciate that. I've been in that position. So yeah, it is a lot of pressure, but it's also, like I said, I wear it as a badge of honor. And if I was to get into the league, I would make sure that, I would be the good example. I wouldn't be oh, look at David Campbell. He's went 0-2 and we've never heard from him again, because then that's no good to anyone. There is, pressure to make sure I come into this league, if I get into the league, to make sure I'm picking up those wins.
Yes, you should, brother. And Matt nailed it on the head. Like, you guys, whether you guys make it in or not, like, you stood out from 6,000+ other tapes. Some people in this chat may have also submitted some things and that weren't so lucky. So you guys are the shining stars of the bunch, and obviously something about you stuck out. And I mean, I can't wait to watch. Hopefully all of you guys get drafted, because I do want to see all of you guys succeed. Because I mean, just by talking to you for the last 20-some minutes, David, like, you're pretty damn cool. And I feel like I have to start being the show host now. I have to ask you the analytical questions. So for those who are watching, like managers or people who are like how Matt and I mentioned, we're doing this mock draft on Friday with our friends from Let's Get Ready, right?
Yeah.
So if I want to draft David Campbell, first of all, for those who don't know, what division are you trying to play?
Singles and teams, yep.
Singles and teams. And what can you bring to the table outside of saying I can answer some trivia questions?
Yeah, work rate. I've said it since the start of this thing, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, that I will outwork every other rookie, most of the other players in your league. I'm coming in here to make sure that my faction wins the faction championship. That's what I want to do. You've got people who are coming in here for all the wrong reasons. I'm coming in here to get a faction when I'm here to be part of history. I will make sure that I shoot up in my weaknesses by working with the other players in my faction. I'll make sure that I can bring my strengths to the table, and help shoot up the weaknesses of other players on my team. Make sure everyone's prepared going into a match. Make sure I'm there at every study session. Make sure I'm helping organize other study sessions. Giving people recommendations, being there for moral support for people when they're having their matches. All of it. Like I said, I've played team sports before. I'm no stranger to that environment. I love being a part of the team. Don't get me wrong. The individual aspect of it as well. I'll go into my matches and I know that the pressure is on me, and I will rise to the occasion when it comes to my singles matches. But more than that, you're getting someone who will be totally invested in the faction and loyal to you and the faction. So that's what I say to all the managers out there is, they can think maybe I'm talking out my ass, so to speak, when it comes to that. And it's a good political play, but it's not. I'm being totally earnest, being totally genuine when I say that if I'm coming into this league, I can't get really title matches as an international player. The faction championship is my first concern. That is my first concern, and I can't wait. It gets me excited, it gets me excited even saying that. To be part of a winning faction at the end of the season, that'd be a dream come true for me as a fan.
Yeah. And you are among the handful of players who have the most difficult task because you're international. You have the difference. I'm on the East Coast, he's Central, so you're 6 hours ahead of him, you're 5 hours ahead of me. You're going to be, 8 hours ahead of your managers and the commentary team. So what do you have to say to those managers who may find that a concern?
I don't care about it. I mean, if you care about it, managers, that's fine. I'll get up at whatever time it takes to do these matches. I'll get up whatever time it takes, to be there when I can for these study sessions. Like, I wouldn't have applied for the Schmoedown. I wouldn't have put in my audition for the Schmoedown not knowing this was a reality. I'm very aware of what the reality of the situation is when it comes to the time difference. You know, I've had phone calls with managers at 5 a.m. in the morning. I just go out to my car and I take the call. You know, I can do it. You know, and if you're willing to take the chance on me, I'm willing to put in the work for you. So that's what I'd say to the time difference thing.
Now,
See, no, by all means, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
No, and the international thing, of course, it's like, and I know there are a lot of rumors running wild before the list even came out. Like, oh, what's the deal going to be with international players? And I'm glad it's not even going to be. It's not even a concern for you, because it shouldn't be. No. And honestly, like it's I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like it's relieving. Like it's not something that managers should be worrying about. So that's my message to managers. Don't worry about my man being in Scotland. He'll be all right. Like if you're going to go ahead and draft him, which you should. But the teams and singles aspect of the game, I know that like you're all about your work ethic and you're going to try your ass off, to put it frank. To be frank, you're going to work your ass off to be the best player you can be. So in regards to teams, just so we can have a comparison, who are some players in the Schmoedown that you've seen before, whether they're active or not, that you think you are like, that's who I'd like to team with, or someone I can work well with?
I'm so glad you asked this question. Like, my dream partner would be Whitney Seibold. For one, as a Schmoedown fan, that man has come so close so many times to getting his hands, you know, on that team's championship, to getting the opportunity to climbing the mountain. And we know he's good enough. We know what that man's knowledge is like. Only look at the horror free-for-all last season to see what he did. But I think with the age gap between me and Whitney, and also when you look at the different interests that we have, I think my strengths would complement his weaknesses and vice versa. That would be a team I would be so happy to be part of. And it would be a team that would be interesting because you look at the symmetry between his old partner. You know, he went for a younger partner and look what happened to them. You know, they managed to go to the team's championship. So if I managed to get in a team with Whitney Seibold, I'll get out of town, man. That would be a dream come true. And we would be such a formidable team. I can guarantee you that.
Now, my question is, you have called out a few rookies. Mm-hmm. You also have to be realistic that there's a chance you end up on a team of rookies. So
yeah,
if these rookies have issues with some of the stuff that you said, how do you go about mending those fences?
I think, you know, I would hope if people are coming into the Schmoedown, they understand the entertainment and wrestling side of things, for one. You know, understand that, you know, I'm doing this and I'm doing it with a twinkle in my eye. You know, I'm doing it with a smile on my face. I'm taking these cheeky jabs to try and wind you up as much as anything else. But, you know, I also think I'll have that conversation with people. If people aren't happy about what I said and we end up in the same faction, you know, I'll hold my hands up and say, you know, look, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'll be willing to work with anyone. You know, when it comes to getting to the faction, if I'm on the same faction as Rick Radis, you know, I'll try and get on his level. You know, I'll try and get as raging as the Rager. So
I honestly think you two would be a good team. I'm not even gonna just because like he's like it's like the angel and the devil, because you got this nice personality and you've seen him, you've seen how he talks. He's got the devil in his hand half the time.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd be terrified to be in the same faction as Brother Lomas. You know, I would need to study the Bible, you know, to get some conversation to have with that man. You know, but whether, you know, all of the rookies, I'd be happy to be in the faction with any rookies, whether it is Rick Radis, Brother Lomas, Sweets, Peggy, you know, whether it's Peggy, you know, I'd love to be in the same faction as Peggy. I think we get on like a house on fire, despite the jabs that we've had at each other along the way, you know what I mean? Like, these people, these are the rookie class that I'm a part of, so there's always going to be a kinship there. You know, and to me, it doesn't matter if we're on the same faction or not. There's always going to be that mutual respect, knowing that we've all come from this time, this place, in the Schmoedown's history.
All right. Well, I only got one more question, Chris. I don't know about you, but my last question is: Christian's made it known, and we know based off of the metrics, there's 96 spots available. Yeah. There's over 140 players, and on top of that, there's still more rookies that are going to be announced Friday, apparently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Christian's made it known that they're looking at doing a minor league.
Yeah.
How are you going to handle things if you're not drafted and you have to start off in the minor league?
Listen, first and foremost, I want drafted in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. That's why I'm here. That's the goal. I really don't want to fail at that initial goal. However, if it comes to the point I don't get drafted, well, I'll be upset about it. I think that's an understatement. You know, I'll be devastated. I'm a huge fan of this show and a huge fan of this game. But after that, I'll pick myself up, realize maybe I didn't do enough to prove myself to these managers this time round. Let's prove it in the minor leagues. And I'd use the minor leagues as the stepping stone, make everyone in the minor leagues know my name, remember how it felt to lose to me, most importantly, and make my way to the Movie Trivia Schmoedown eventually, you know. But having said that, Matt, it is my goal to get into the Schmoedown, and I'm going to put in the effort between now and next Friday to try and, you know, make sure that happens and shorten the odds on David Campbell ending up in one of your favourite factions come the Movie Trivia Schmoedown draft.
That's a great segue into my last question before we start, you know, wrapping up and we give you plugs galore into what you got going on, David. But you mentioned the factions, and I mean, I have to ask the obvious. I mean, we just saw the last season. We saw 9 factions. Now it's shortened to 8 because we don't have the Droogs going into this year. So, what are your thoughts on the factions as a whole? I don't want to single out any managers, but as a whole, we have 8 different managers that are all great in their own way. So, what are your thoughts on all 8 of them, honestly? As specific as you want to be, as generous as you want to be, it's up to you.
I'll run through each of them. Shannon won last season. There's nothing you can put by that. You know, and I called Shannon out in my audition tape. We had to cut a promo on someone already in the Schmoedown. So I was like, I'll go after the top dog. You know, I'll go after the biggest name in the Schmoedown. Shannon is the biggest name in the Schmoedown, and she's put together a team in corruption that is like a family. And leading on to that, so is Winston at Swag. You know, both of those guys, I think, understood that the importance of making sure the faction as a whole is a collective and not just relying on 1 or 2 people. Roxy Stryer, her in-game management is impeccable. We've seen the stuff she can do with her speeches and that. I love the energy Coy brings to the game, and he also has the benefit of being around this game for a long time, as does Sam Levine. First double champion in Schmoedown history. He has the knowledge to back you up when it comes to challenges. That's an invaluable part of it. And that's something that, you know, I would benefit off extremely. I think when you look at someone like Kate Mulligan, she is going through a major change in character. The Den is going through a major reface this year. You know, she's coming back and she's wanting to rebuild and redefine what the Den means, you know, what it means to be in the Den. As too is John Kaiser. I think that, you know, Kaiser is a character. And, you know, he's one of the first managers in the league to understand that team aspect. Maybe not this season, but seasons ago. Look what he built with Smets. Look what he built with Oyama and Eric Zipper. They were already a family before the factions were even really officially a thing, you know, in this league. And I think Kaiser can do it again. He's managed champions before. He will manage them again, which leads us to Finstock, Tom Dagnino. And if there's anyone who defines what it means to be a character in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, it's that man. And he's one of the most beloved figures in the Schmoedown for a reason, one of the most infamous figures in the Schmoedown for a reason. And next season, I don't doubt he's going to become that despicable heel that we always loved him as in the early days back to the Lions Den in the Schmoedown. So that's what I love about all 8 managers. I could work with any of them. If one of them drafts me, you know, I'll go after the other 7. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, David, thank you for coming on. And before we let you go, plug away, sir. Go ahead and plug away.
Yeah, so you can find me at David Campbell 55 on Twitter. Follow me there. Have produced 3 podcasts myself and the FT Podcast Network. So we've got First Time Films. We have Full Time Football, which covers soccer, not American football, just before you're aware, before checking that out. And also FTTV as well. We'll be doing One Division reviews on that channel very soon. You can also find me as a panelist at Eat, Sleep, Suplex, Retweet, wrestling podcast based in Glasgow, Scotland. So go and check me out over there.
You just gained a fan in Chris, because I think Chris is going to ask you to come on this.
Yeah, we'll have to chat.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll talk in a second, David.
Nice, fantastic. I love it. And like I said, I'm post-production on my first feature film, 10 Reasons Not to Make a Movie. Hopefully I'll be done with that in 2021. I will be playing a fictionalized version of myself in that film. Check it out.
Right.
Sweet. Thanks, David.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. We've been talking the past few days. I got more excited as it went on. But everyone for watching, everyone who is watching, thank you for watching. Thank you for getting to know this man, David Campbell. He is in my top 6 rookies, which include the 3 Dragon Con players, David, Sweep Swift, and Rick Radis. So,
yeah, David. I mean, best of luck to you, my man. I have a good feeling. I have a really good feeling, but we won't find out till next weekend. So,
yeah,
best of luck to you, brother.
See what happens.
Like, subscribe, follow. Signing off. I'm Matt. This is the personality, Chris Anthony Lopez. And remember, folks, spin from the reel, not the peg. Have a good one.